from the creator of Claymore brings us a brand new series, which I like to say it has around about 12 chapters now, and another series that I've wanted to talk about for a little bit ever since I discovered it like only a couple of days ago, and I've already pretty much not fallen in love with it, but I'm definitely really having a lot of fun with like what exactly the Claymore author has got in mind for like his brand new series, which is Sokyo no Arende, or Arende like of the Blue Skies, which 12 chapters in already, like, so this is going to be kind of like a little bit of a video catch-up. I like, again, as I've said with maybe my Mary Grey one, maybe I might talk a little bit more about this, but this is more the fact that I wanted to, like, at least talk about this because this is the Claymore author, and I really like him, and if you don't know, Claymore is fucking awesome. It was a series about, like, a bunch of elite, badass female fighters that were taking on, like, the Yoma, and I had a lot of fun with that. I've got the whole, like, collection back there, like, and I honestly really enjoyed the manga a lot. I really liked the anime as well, up to like literally I think it was the last episode. That's my biggest issue with that entire show. But like, one thing I gotta mention is that we haven't seen anything from the creator of Claymore for a while. Like, he had like a one shot which was like something I believe it was called Arcadia, like, and it was pretty much like main character was the same as like this guy. However, it's a few little differences. Like this, I will say this: if you want like a like the world to just be Final Fantasy VI, if you just want that kind of like world, I will say this much and all that. Like, you'll probably like this world, and you'll like some of the technology and some of the weird things happening in this world, because Arende like actually has a lot of that like stuff going on for it right now, and definitely is going to be a series that is built up between the journey of like our main character and other like lead and all that, our female main protagonist, like these two and all that. Like, so far they've had a very weird and interesting chemistry, and definitely I want to talk like a little bit more about them. So two like main protagonists, I should say, for this on that is Lacille, who was we find out he is a human weapon of war. Like, his grandpa used to be a soldier, and he pretty much smuggled him out like when he was around about 8 or so. Like, he was fighting on the front lines when he was 8 years old, and like pretty much he slipped away alongside with like these photon weapons that we know, like some of them would be like gloves, swords, like rocket launch. Like the weird, like there's a weird advancement in technology in some areas where there are lightsabers for the most part, and then there are stuff roaming around like just like how normal farmers, like, it's a very weird technical advancement. Like, we know that there are like cities that float in the sky, but then again, some people are just like farmers and just live on the countryside and just don't really bother with them too much with like some of the technology. And he pretty much has a dream. He wants to see like the floating cities in the sky alongside with his sisters, and he's just been pretty much like helping his like grandpa for the most part, like ever since like he kind of escaped there. Which then we meet our other character, who is Lana Skraktofi Alinde, which is a mouthful. And this is the thing, like where we get to see it on there, it's like she kind of just looks like a very younger Claire. Like, you can just tell it by the face, and she's like a little weird, like how she talks, because not only does she have something that she describes as angel's disease, where she has to wear these giant weighted boots, like she's wearing like Goku weighted clothing like around, so she doesn't literally float away, which is something that a lot of people, and like even though like country members like suffer from and all that. Like, she describes later on that it's like only super cute girls and like middle-aged men suffer from her country, which we find out is a little bit of bullshit at the end with like the angel's disease for the most part. But it's definitely something tied to her country that she has, where she pretty much has to wait this so she doesn't literally being forcefully pulled back to where she originally comes from, which is kind of crazy to me, like seeing some of that stuff, which we find out like she's been on the run, like she's being chased by her own countrymen to come back because she's getting a forced marriage like from the royal man from another country. She's pretty much being used as a bargaining chip, and from how she's talking about it, saying like how she describes her country, which we find out is one of these flying cities, is Arende. Like, this is this giant mechanical floating city in the sky, and she discusses how like there are 12 different kinds of species aside from human, and her description of like all the other destinations that they can go towards, like the grand towering mountains, the vast seven seas, the abyssal forest, the golden waterfall that ascends to the heaven, like the burning mountains. Like, this is not to be honest, a lot of the stuff then, like, at least with some of the tiny bits we've seen, pretty much are Final Fantasy to, like, the old D&D Lord of the Rings kind of shit that we're dealing with some of these world, like, with parts of the world on there, which sounds super interesting to me, and, like, even discusses that Arendelle is not the only, like, city, like, floating around. There are about 7 others floating around, and this pretty much involves, like, our main character, Lucille, getting involved and pretty much rescuing and letting out that he can use Photon, which is kind of like the energy for this series, which is, like, he uses gloves, he flies around, he pretty much makes this giant burst of energy, like, he even has a sword, like, he has a bunch of things, like, on there. The one thing I didn't like about, like, one of the chapters is that he literally threw away a ton of weapons, and it was like, they could have all been super useful and all that, but definitely I have liked so far, like, the kind of the relationship between Lucille and, like, Lana. I think those two are, like, had a nice little kind of, like, weird, goofy-ass relationship, and, like, how they've been handling situations, and then we find out, like, even though, like, he's been appointed, like, this blue knight in the sky, which is apparently a big deal, like, in her country, when we meet some of our other countrymen, whereas, like, that's, like, one of the biggest honors that you can, like, receive, for the most part, like, next to, like, a bunch of these other knights that we kind of don't know about. But overall, I would say for, like, the pacing of the show, they had, like, if anything, it's like there's not so much has happened, so wise that it's just been a lot of them traveling, and then since then, I think since chapter 5, they went to a town, and it's pretty much just been one huge ass, big ass battle since then, and, like, after, like, another scenario where, like, Lana nearly got captured, and that was pretty much, like, that's all what we've gotten so far, like, from the series on there. I think it's more interesting the fact that the author of this used to be a monthly grade, like, Claymore used to be monthly, and then I believe, obviously, after, like, kind of what happened to the magazine, it was pretty much forced on Weekly Shonen Jump for a while. I don't think they were weekly chapters, though. They were just pretty much, like, came out once. Kind of like what they've got with Boruto right now, where it's, like, it's just over there, like, when it comes out once a month. But, like, this is, as far as I know, like, the author's first attempt at, like, doing a, like, weekly series, and, like, obviously, a lot, there's going to be a clear difference between, like, the art quality, but so far, at least with 12 chapters so far, I haven't really noticed that huge, like, bump in quality. I still think it looks really good. It's a lot lighter than Claymore. The one thing that people will always tell you about Claymore is that Claymore really didn't have any comedy. It didn't really have any action, and you can tell from the start with, like, how Lucille and Lana act that it's like there's a lot more goofy antics from there. It's like the most you ever got were, like, some, like, jokes, like some really morbid jokes some of the Yoma would do in Claymore, and it's just like that was just not the world. And it's like, again, it was a good series, but it's like the one thing where it's like, think Berserk without Puck, and then you lose a huge chunk of what comedy and lightheartedness that you had in such a horrific world, and that's Claymore for the most part. It just didn't have that Puck for the most part. But this series, I like so far. I definitely recommend. It's not gonna blow your mind away at all. I think so far for, like, the 12 chapters that are out right now, this is not gonna blow anybody's, like, opinion out of the water, saying this is the next new big thing, this is great. Like, to me, this is a 7 so far. Like, this is good, I'm liking this so far. Like, it's like, it's nothing brand new, but it's something I wanted to see. I wanted to kind of see a manga that I want to see more of the Claymore and see what he's got, because I know he can do some really interesting creatures, some characters, and, like, definitely his world building and all that. Something I've I want to see more of and all that, because there was some crazy shit going on with like with Claymore, and, like, I want to see how he handles, like, a weekly, like, situation. If this is really gonna hurt him too much, or if this series is gonna fail or not. So far, from what I've seen, like, and, like, being told for the most part, like, I mean, there's some volumes already out of it, like, of the first, I think the first volume and the second volume is now about to come out for it, and it's seemingly doing well. I mean, he had a huge hit with, like, Claymore for the most part. It had an anime, and it lasted for a very long time, like. So, whether or not this will survive, like, Shonen Sunday, we don't know. I think they're a little bit lenient with some of their other series, so we'll have to wait and see. But overall, the highest I would even give it is, like, a set. It's good. I'm enjoying it right now. It's not amazing. It's not a must-read right now. It's mainly its main reason I read it so far and all that is its pedigree of the fact that it's the creator of just immediately when it's like, wait, the Claymore guy's got to do, I needed to know right away and all that. So I will still say at the moment, it's very unfair for a weekly series comparing the first 12 chapters of that to Claymore, but I will definitely say Claymore is a better series right now. Like, I think that straight up I'll say that, but this is definitely something. It's like, let's have a look at him try a new spin and let's see his whole version of a more shonen kind of series, which Claymore was. It was technically shonen, it was, but it just felt more seinen than anything because of how brutal it was. So let me know you guys think in the comments section down below. But that's all from me. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys though next time.